Welcome to the very first episode of Behind the Deal.
This is your backstage pass to what happens behind the scenes of any sales campaign.
My name is Hayleigh. I am an architectural photographer and drone photographer. I work with construction, real estate, and anybody involved in property right here on the Mornington Peninsula. This is my lovely co-host, Lisa.
Hayleigh.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lisa Carlisle, and I'm the owner of the Staging Hub. We stage properties on the Mornington Peninsula, although we are branching into Melbourne now, for the real estate market.
We are really, really excited to bring you our first ever episode of Behind the Deal. We cannot wait to share the insights, both from our own areas of expertise, but of that of our guests that will be joining us in future weeks.
We're going to start off by asking each other some questions so that you get to know us, who will be your hosts for the entire series.
That's good.
Is it a series?
Yeah, it is. So is a series. Series 1 of 20.
Series 1, episode 1.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants to know what we've got to say. Yes. All right.
Should we talk about quickly how we met?
Okay. Well, I remember when I first moved down to Frankston.
What year was that?
In 22.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly wanted to establish myself, and so that was all about making connections. And so I reached out to Instagram, the whole follow, got to get to know the people down here. And I was following you probably from when I first moved down here. And we always ended up being ships in the night. And I find it ironic that we live 500 meters from each other. Right? And I've shot many of your houses that you've staged, and yet I would never see you. And I think there was one time that we did almost see each other.
In Rosebud.
And that was when I was like, oh, I'm finally going to meet this elusive woman. But alas, it wasn't to be that day. It wasn't to be.
The beautiful agent that
Yes.
was looking after that property or selling that property called me and said, Hayleigh's going to be coming. And I was really excited as well to finally meet Hayleigh. And we waited, but it got to the point where we had to leave. However, he rang that afternoon and said how much Hayleigh loved your work. And I think there was another phone call perhaps you made to me at some other point. I was sitting on the beach in Noosa, actually.
Oh, yes.
And I just remember thinking, I love this girl, but we've never met, but we had a connection straight away. So I think probably a few months ago, I think you said, all right, when are we actually catching up?
Yeah.
So we met on the beach for coffee.
We did.
And it was a 3-hour conversation, I think.
It was, and we covered everything really, but I think that's because we have so many areas of our life that have similarities, and so there's definitely connections there because we have similar lived experiences. And now we both find ourselves in the position of being business owners and single parents, and so we're busy doing the juggle, so we resonate with what we're each going through. And so aside from working in the real estate world, we do have other similarities. She's a bit more flexible than me. I like to think myself, I used to be a gymnast, and I like to think of myself as still being as flexible, but I'm sure she'd put me to shame in downward facing dog or something like that.
We'll have a splits competition.
Split off.
See a split off. I was going to... I think during our 3-hour conversation, as well as talking about our private lives and how much we have in common, we started to have the conversation around our industry.
Yes.
And I think that both of us felt that actually this is a discussion that really isn't had.
Yes.
In any kind of forum as such. So whilst there are other real estate podcasts out there, ours is going to be very different because it's coming from behind the curtain.
Absolutely. And I think that equally as well, the one thing that Lisa and I do is I think we run our businesses quite well in terms of the types of clients that we seek to work with. Are clients who understand what we do and why we do it. And I think that that's a real degree of importance in what we both do. For me, particularly, it's quality over quantity. So I'm not a sort of volume-based photographer that's wanting to just work for any client of any standard. And I think for you too, that
100%.
there's a certain caliber of clients that you seek to work with because you value what you do, the work that you put out. And that's where we sort of, I think, connected as well over the business sides of things. But understanding each other's frustrations and struggles and the challenges we have in business within our industry, we did see that there would be a lot of value to others in the industry, but not only that, that it would then share some insights that could only aid to help real estate agents become stronger at building relationships with a good network of suppliers. So
yeah,
hence one stormy night. I think we should have I think we should do this. I think we should bring this discussion. No,
it didn't take me long to reply.
No, it was a bit of a, oh yeah. And I really think that what we've got is something that a lot of people will relate to, a lot of people can learn from. It gives a great deal of perspective, and I think it's going to be of great use to people who are looking at potentially selling their house, for vendors who unfortunately find themselves with an agent that isn't necessarily as forward thinking. Listening to our podcast is only going to arm them with a great deal of information that perhaps that lower grade real estate is just not going to supply them with, and you can hold your own real estate agent accountable.
Yes.
Of course, it wouldn't be our clients because our clients already know what they should be doing.
You know, it's all about evolution and growing and finding new ways of improving the systems or the status quo. So, and as Hayleigh described before, neither of us are interested in scaling our businesses to the point where we are crazy busy. Our interest is how can this be a sustainable, service-driven service where we are both feeling joy, we're feeling rested, our quality of our private life is taken care of.
Yes.
So we're not depleting ourselves.
Right.
And even starting this podcast, we both had to think, okay, do we have time and energy for this?
Yes.
But we've both realised since we've been recording is it lights us up. It actually gives us a lot of fuel and energy, and it is going to be of value to us, the whole industry, and to the general public.
And I think also as well, doing it and the whole being sort of it lighting us up is also because it's forcing us to answer questions that we probably should be addressing as any healthy business owner should, right? Yeah. Because we're really wondering, well, why, what do we love about what we do, and why do we do what we do, and why do we do it that way? And so it really is it's a good exercise to go through. To get to the bottom of our whys.
So true. Even in asking questions whilst rehearsing some of this a little bit, it's really kind of, brought up some triggers or some areas where perhaps, and I think most business owners can relate to this, is where's the little block? Where's the thing that's holding me back from being all I can be, my potential, my light? So that's been really interesting.
It has. It has. And I think it will still continue to be as well. I'm really excited to see what similarities we can see in the guests that we bring on. I'm sure that for the most part, because there is a huge degree of creativity in the service providers that service the real estate sector. And so I think that there will be so many similarities in those hurdles. The challenges, the wins, all of those things.
It's so true. Tony Robbins talks about business as a spiritual journey, and I love that because it brings up our shadows.
Yes.
Running a business. It's like any relationship. being in business is a relationship.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So
It's a relationship with many relationships.
Yeah, that too.
Yes.
But, you know, since we've started our Instagram page, what I've been noticing, and you would have too, is the different types of businesses that have been following us within the real estate industry that I hadn't even thought of.
Right.
Actually.
Yes.
You know, from conveyancers to finance to mortgage brokers to insurance.
Yeah.
To buyers and sellers advocates.
Yes.
It's going to, there's so painters, plumbers, every
Every
there's so
aspect.
much.
And so it really is. It's such a broad industry, and I think it will unearth a lot of the suppliers that we maybe even don't know exist.
Yes.
But we want to talk to, because of course we share similarities.
And if you are one of those people and listening to this, put your hand up.
Oh yeah.
Make yourself known to us, because we're learning here as well.
Yeah.
So.
And the object of this podcast is to bring the insights, and if we can have it well rounded, from a service provider's point of view, I mean, yes, we want to talk to agents too, but if we can be so well rounded from a service provider's point of view, well, it just is going to appeal to that many more.
Yeah.
And it's going to be of more value to those listening.
Exactly. Be like
win-win.
Casting a big net.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've even got some things just dropping in now. It's exciting. It's a growth. So welcome to our journey.
Yes. Come along for the ride.
Yes. Okay, so let's start with getting to know Hayleigh and myself. Hayleigh Beach.
Yes.
What's the deal? What brought you to this industry?
Okay, well, what can I say? I would say I've had a life of being around property. I mean, we all are. We all grew up in a home. For me, my home was a constant state of renovation. So my dad is an avid home builder, and he also drew the plans. So as a kid, my dining room table would only be cleared off on a Sunday, and every other day of the week it would be covered in the house's blueprints that my dad had sketched. And I would find myself after school on the top of the roof, climb up the scaffold. That was just me. I lived amongst an absolute renovation bomb for 19 years. It took him 19 years. As soon as one extension was finished, he'd say, oh, I'll do something else. So I lived in a constant state of renovation. Loved it. And every other house we lived in was the same. So I think for that, there's always been a real passion for making a house a home. And I have lots of cherished sort of nostalgic memories of that. My mum wasn't so much in love with the renovation side of things. So I would actually spend weekends with her. If I wasn't with Dad helping out, mixing concrete and cement and all of that stuff, I'd be out looking at open homes. And Mum would just fall into this, I guess, daydream of, if this was our house, because they were obviously largely finished homes. So if this was our house, this could be your room. What would you do with this space? And so we'd go into these houses and we'd imagine our lives in this house just to escape from all of the dust and piles of bricks. I mean, I was happy there as well, but real estate was, you know, always there. And then when I moved into my career as well, I was always dealing with real estate agents. And so I remember quite early on saying, I've just got a feeling I'm going to end up being a real estate agent at some point. And I really have never been too far away from it. And then, of course, after my redundancies, and I decided to make myself a living doing something I believe in, which photography for me was always a good passion of mine. I decided, well, I'm gonna take photos. And there was a bit of a meander along the way. I started out as a portrait photographer, but COVID was a bit of an indicator of change. And for me, it meant that I just went from more of a broad photography space into just the real estate space. And I found that I was good at it and that it worked well for me.
Perfect.
And so hence, it's been life-changing. It's allowed me to move down the peninsula and establish myself down here. But that's where I guess that's where my drive for, I wouldn't say real estate per se, but buildings, structure. I like to follow lines and contours, and so I get really quite excited.
So it sounds like a natural progression.
I think so.
Like a full circle almost.
Yeah, I think so. When I stand back and I look at it, it sort of feels like it was just meant to be that way. So now it's really just a case of honing more, perfecting, making sure that I'm at the top of my game. And now I'm in this place of privilege of trying to work out which clients I want to work for in terms of, do they speak the same language as me?
Yeah, alignment's very important.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm all about now, is finding the people that appreciate what I do, the length of detail I go into, and appreciate my personality.
Could they not?
Wow. Not for everybody, but there's only one of me.
Thank God for you.
Yes. All right. So enough about me. Let's hear about you, Lisa. What's your deal? How did you get started in the industry?
Well, similar to you, actually, Hayleigh, real estate has been a big part of my life, in my adult life. My first boyfriend started out as a real estate agent in his early 20s. So I was along for the ride. And as every wife or partner knows who has a husband or partner that is a real estate agent, you really are part of the whole thing, because you're having to, they're always on the phone. Or
They still are. They really are.
We'll go on a holiday and they're always on the phone.
Yes.
So I felt like, and because you're privy to nearly every conversation, you start to get a real insight as to how the real estate industry operates.
Yeah.
So I feel like I grew up with that from 19 onwards. Then my sister became a real estate agent. And again, she was always on the phone and still is. So again, you're in the car with them for an hour or two, and you're listening to these conversations of selling this house or negotiating or whatever. So you really do get a backseat view of the industry. And then actually during COVID, I was a yoga teacher. During COVID, I ended up selling my last yoga studio. And so I had a few months to decide what I was going to do next. And I thought about real estate. So I actually did the real estate course with my best friend. And we passed somehow.
They let you in.
But if I was honest with myself, I knew I would never be a real estate agent. I did the course for a bit of something to do during that time, but styling and staging properties was where my heart was. I observed my own house staged in Mount Eliza when I sold it. I used to stage my own yoga studios, the 3 of them, myself.
And they're always lovely sanctuaries, right?
100%, which is why my initial sort of intention was to bring soul to family homes that people could see themselves living in, like you said before, Hayleigh.
Yeah.
So for us, or for me, it was about bringing feeling into a home rather than, chairs and tables. And I still pride ourselves on that. We have changed the name from Sold Spaces to the Staging Hub to be a little bit more descriptive of what we do. Yeah. But it still comes with the same soul, the same intention. And I can unequivocally say it's my favourite job of my life. I love teaching yoga. It's a passion, always will be. It was a very heartfelt and privileged job. However, the joy of creating and co-creating with others, I feel like with yoga I was very much on my own, bit of an island, but the co-creation I have with my girls who work for me, just lights me up, and them as well.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's the storytelling that goes behind the client. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the skills I've gained from yoga teaching and holding space for many hundreds of people over the years, I've really brought that. Well, you can't not bring that into kind of how you interact with people.
Right.
So the vendor, yes, the agent might introduce us, but the vendor, I then take care of the vendor personally, if the agent is happy with that and the vendor's happy with that. And we develop a beautiful, cohesive, nurturing relationship. So much so that we're in our 5th year, we're now having repeat clients come back, which is just amazing.
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? I can sort of share similar stories with that, where you just have, I think, depending on the agents, and I think, again, because it's important for us to work with agents who respect and value what we do, and we're lucky enough to have those, that they are also so trusting of how we operate, how we interact with the vendors. And I think that similar to what you just mentioned there is that when you have a vendor with a story, some of those stories aren't always happy stories, but when you have a vendor that is willing to share with you what they're going through, trust you to do right by the home and by them, and deliver results that they feel too, right? And then they come back, and they do come back. And I too have this, now I've been in business down here for 2-3 years. I'm fairly fresh to the peninsula, but I have got some very loyal agents who utterly know that I'm the person for a certain type of property. And then also I have vendors now that, despite them moving to other agents, request to use me. And that for me is sort of testament to, okay, I'm doing something right, and I am finding the people that respect that and value that
100%.
and know that I'm the one to deliver for them.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
It's as you said, it is a testament. Alignment. You're not going to be everyone's vibe.
No.
As they say, and even in yoga teaching, it was like some people liked you, some people didn't. It's a hard thing as a human being, because we tend to take things personally.
Yes.
But I think we need to just step away from that and actually use this. When an agent says to me now, "You didn't get the job," I ask them why.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
And that's I'm okay with the answers, but the feedback is so valuable.
Absolutely.
I mean, it could be price. Great, let's look at our prices. It could be they just gelled with someone else, and that's fine too. It could be, whatever it is, but it's learning how not to take things personally, I think, is a huge
and that, I think, is quite hard, though, because, naturally we're creative people, and because of that, what we do and what we put out is largely a part of us.
Yes.
It's one of those muscles that you do have to continuously keep working.
How can I learn from this?
Yes.
And I think from being a yoga teacher, I attached what I did to my identity. That was extremely taxing, because you're constantly being pulled from pillar to post, and your identities, your ego is constantly being compromised and challenged. But when you step away from the attachment, this is what I do, but this is who I am. When you separate the two and go, okay, that may not have been a great job, or perhaps they didn't like that, I'll change it, or apologize, or perhaps it's just not aligned, but it's nothing to do with you as a human being.
Right. Yeah. It's a good lesson to learn. It really is.
I think every business person, every person that we have on the podcast will be able to have a similar story.
Oh, I'm sure.
And as you said, it's a continuous session in the gym.
Yes.
Keeps building that muscle.
So tell me, has it all been plain sailing for you?
No.
What do you mean?
You look so good, don't I?
Well, I'm sure you just call people and they say yes, right? Yes.
Oh, no.
No? Rejection?
Rejection.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned over the years that rejection is just redirection. And I know it's a bit cliche, but it really is. It's like, okay, if I get rejected or whatever, it's like, okay, great. Thank you. What's the feedback? Awesome. Learn. Now I have space for what is meant to come my way. And let's get curious about that. Or I choose to stay in the energy of victimhood and I'm not good enough. And do you think anything's going to come my way? No, because the energy, the frequency is not there.
Yeah.
So now I go, okay, good. All right, now I have next week for amazing possibilities. Bring them on.
Right. And I don't know about you, you may resonate with this, but I find that when I do have those moments of rejection and you sort of dwell ever so momentarily on, oh, well, I'm just going to pack up shop because no, I'm clearly not good enough. For me, I find that every moment when I get so very close, and I'm talking in the earlier days, when it was really important for me to have my clients, it still is now, but
almost desperate.
you know, the desperado stage, which we've all been through, right? But we have to put this bravado on that everything's great. But I found when I was in my own mind for that moment of going, they're not seeing me. They don't, I'm not communicating what I am, who I am, what I do. And then I don't know, for me, I would literally be at that press go button and stop everything, and I'd get a phone call, and then a phone call, and then an email, and then and I
11th hour. You know, I believe the universe just brings us to that point.
Right.
It's really, what do you want here? You know, but when I sold my yoga studio, I had to make a decision. I mean, this was a job, a passion of mine for 10 years. But I remember saying to myself, I had the thing, I might sell it. I might sell my studio and not teach anymore. I'm going to sit on that for a week. I'm going to give myself a week and I'm going to ask myself that question every day. I'm going to sell my yoga studio. Well, that feels good. I'm going to sell my yoga studio. Well, that feels good. Oh, and after 7 days, my little gauge was, if I text my best friend, who I know holds me accountable, if I text her that I'm selling, I have to sell.
right.
That's my little, she's my little gauge. So I remember writing it on the beach and going, send. Okay, I'm doing it. But the difference is, Hayleigh, and I think you and I also have had those thoughts with the staging as well, more than once. It comes down to that point where you go, okay, I'll close up or I'll sell or whatever. And you go, but I love it.
Right.
But I love it. And so there's this little voice that says, just keep going. So what is it that keeps you going, Hayleigh, in those moments of, I might just press that button?
Look, despite what I might feel on any given day in that moment, there is a deep belief for me. There's a deep belief in my ability to do a really good job of taking the care and the time to showcase somebody's home. But when you go into a home that you know is just filled with love, filled with memories, that is sort of, that trumps any poor me feeling I have about myself. And it's just a reset. It's a, wow, look at this stunning home. Look what they've done. You can tell that they've absolutely sort of pushed themselves to the limit in delivering either a beautiful renovation or just getting it ready, or whether it's a deceased estate and clearing through all of the, whatever it is, when you just get to meet that owner, or if you're not lucky enough to meet the owner, but the agent gives you that sense of the work that the vendors have put in, then you know you owe it to them to do justice. It's not as simple as coming in and just shooting. And I think the other thing that drives me and keeps me coming back to what I do and not giving up is going on realestate.com and looking at some of the terrible
Yes.
and looking at some of the terrible ads and then going, that house deserved better. So that's going to continue to make me want to come and do more, because I'm not working necessarily with that agent, but I owe it to the people that do want to work with me to ensure that I'm doing right by that property. Because this is that house's last hurrah for the chapter of that owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a history setting marker. This house won't look like this again, because somebody else will come in, make some modifications, do something to it, paint a wall, knock a wall out. Real estate photography is considered as something that's relatively temporary. It's only got one use to it.
Because
and
it'll never
to sell it.
Yeah, right.
Right? So let's just sell the house. But for me, I look at it as much more than that. And I look at it as a historical marker in the history of that house. And that's just the nostalgia I bring, right?
Yeah. I love what you said, the last hurrah.
The last hurrah, yeah.
The closing of that cycle
Right.
for that house and that family, or in that house.
Yes. Yeah. Let's celebrate all of the beautiful stuff that's happened there. Let's make this house look grand, even if it's being sold out of sadness or divorce or anything that might be negative. Let's just give this house one little celebration and show it off as best you can.
And provide, remember, we're here to get great results for the vendor.
Right.
So provide that family the best chance they can to move forward with their future.
Absolutely. And I think that coming from a corporate background and in my previous roles, I've always been very analytical and very strategic about what I do. And so I think what I bring into photography from my corporate life is I don't just look at it as a creative. So anybody who is a photographer might go, well, I'm a photographer, so I know how to shoot a house now. And unfortunately, it's not that simple. And there is a degree of skill to it. Aside from the skill, there's also a mindset, and that is one of strategy. And so it isn't about my ego and making me feel like, oh, I've made a really good picture. Every ounce of what I do, it has in the back of my mind, is this showing the space accurately? Is this showing the space the best way possible? What am I doing that brings this house to life?
Yeah.
It's never just a shoot this room to show it's a room and the people will figure it out. It's like, no, I want everybody to want to come and see this house, and I'm going to shoot it to do that.
To maximize the result.
Maximize interest.
And that's where you and I are the same.
Yeah.
We're both the same. We're both here there to maximize the results for the vendor at the end of the day. But that means bringing the feeling into it, bringing the nurturing into it, and all of those beautiful elements. But at the end of the day, we want it to sell quickly.
Yes.
And we want it to sell for as much as possible.
Right, absolutely. And I think one of the conversations I have either with the agent or the vendor themselves, I tell them, and I might have, what shall I say, not your typical way of communicating with people, but I tell them it's all about eyeballs. We want eyeballs on your house.
True.
We want people to look so much that they have to come. You need a really good first impression. You're only going to get that with good photos. That's going to maximize the amount of eyeballs on your house, and that's going to then maximize the amount of feet that come through the door during the opens. It's all about driving the competition. So it isn't about just making a bunch of photos that will just give people an idea of what's going on in the house. No, it's about making as many people go, I need to be in that house. I need to come and see it.
Yes.
Because there's something about this place.
Yes.
And that's what I've got in the back of my mind every time I'm taking those photos.
And that's really impact.
Yeah.
How can I be as impactful? And the other part to it too is for photography and staging especially staging because they're already in the house, is how memorable is this property? If you think about it, you know, if you're looking to buy a house, you're probably going to look at 6 to 7 houses in one Saturday, maybe.
Yeah.
At least a few. And often I remember when I've done that in the past, I'm like, which one did we start at? Can't remember it.
Right.
But if it had a beautiful piece of art or
the sofa that they wanted.
Or the bed was made of, remember the one with the bed? Yep. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely all about making things unforgettable because, well, that's what we're brought in to do, right? We're not transactional people. We're not transactional service providers, and we don't want the work that we produce to be transactional. We want it to be standout.
Yes.
We want it to be something that people go, that's made that space really special. It's funny. It's a tiny off-note anecdote that maybe I will slip in. I am currently looking for a rental. And I was talking with my ex about a house, and I sent him a link and I said, have a look at this house. And he said, no, can't do it. And I said, why? And he said, I don't like the chairs.
Yeah.
And it was because
and that's from a man as well.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
And it was because it was a vendor's own, and the photography, you know, wasn't the best. The angles that were selected weren't the best, but they made these chairs that were dated. They were front and center.
Wow.
And that was enough for him to discount a property purely from just looking. And this is a rental, but people do the same when it comes to houses for sale.
I mean, the thing is, if you're buying or renting a property for yourself, you want to know that the previous owner actually loved that property as well and have put their time, money, they've invested in that space. If we go to, you and I shop at op shops sometimes. We love an op shop. I know it's secondhand, but I want to know that someone's looked after that jumper for me to buy it.
Right.
Or pair of shoes.
Yeah.
It's the same with a house. We want it to be somewhat new because we want to buy something newish.
Yes.
But we also know it's secondhand.
Yeah.
So how can it be as new as possible while still being secondhand?
Yeah. And I think for bringing staging in, I think is absolutely
Key to that.
Key to it. It makes such a difference because again, it's a relatively neutral color palette that's used. It's clearly going to be furnishings that are on trend. So all of those things are going to be appealing to people.
Yes.
Even if they're not your on-trend kind of people.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
What you do and what you bring to a space in the design of it all is again that visual feast when you walk through the door. It's, oh my gosh, look at those cushions. It's a cushion. It's not going to be in the house.
Exactly.
They'll be gone, but it's enough to connect.
Absolutely. It's incredible, the psychology. The amount of agents that say, thank you, the house is sold. Everyone commented on the staging. They know they're not going to keep the staging, but it just helped with the whole feel-good vibes of the whole process.
Yeah. It really is a psychological game. I think the whole sales tactics now, or they probably always have been, but I think it's the avenues and the creativity that can go into the marketing now just means that we are always appealing to the emotions, and that's why you bring in a creative bunch of suppliers.
Yes, exactly.
Because we love emotions.
We certainly do.
We love emotions.
Yeah.
We love to bring our emotions to a space and make people fall in love with it.
The right side of our brain enters.
Yeah.
The left side sort of like, oh yeah, I'm here
if you
help.
need me. I'll take notes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
dear.
is. It's so important. But I think, agents who appreciate that, I think agents who appreciate the value in staging, because not all do, And I think there's also agents who appreciate the standard of photography.
Yes.
And again, not all agents do.
No.
And
You know,
discussion.
and I think it's so important to have those conversations, because we don't know everything, and we don't know what your preferences are. It comes back to that relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why, as you said, it's so important. The agents that call me now, and I've heard you on the phone to agents, they're your mates.
Oh, yeah.
They become your friends, and they want to be able to call you whenever, and they want you to be excited to talk to them and not,
yes,
the
dreaded phone call.
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, relationships are huge, and I think we're both really good at establishing those relationships and nurturing those relationships. I think, even just the other day when I was popping over for a visit, and I, for the first time in my entire existence, hadn't put a booking in my calendar. And it was not a drama, and yes, he had to wait 20 minutes for me to get there, but it really was not an issue. And
human error sometimes.
Yeah, and even when I messaged him frantically saying ETA this, he said, "Take your time, it's all good."
Yeah.
But you don't get that if you only have transactional interactions with your service providers.
Yes.
You're also not going to get great value or quality out of them if that's the kind of if that's the kind of agent or relationship you have with your agents are.
And I mean, joy is a huge part of why. Don't we want joy in our day?
Yeah.
Don't we want to enjoy who we're interacting with? Don't we want to kind of, create that space and that opportunity for us to have fun?
Right.
Have fun. I know it's a serious thing, but just to have some fun.
No, I think it's serious, but it doesn't have to be boring.
Yes.
I think that, as we're both single parents and we spend a lot of what we do on our business, the time that we have. And so if we're doing that, we're both at an age now, we've both had careers and felt maybe a lack of value in what we've done. Joy. And so absolutely now it's imperative that what we go out to do every day, we're doing it and we're having a bit of fun along the way. And
Absolutely.
I love to get a bit silly.
Yeah.
Luckily I found agents that appreciate my sense of humor. Having that, it's only ever going to elevate you as an agent as well, though. I think that if you're an agent that values human interaction, then let the humans out.
Yeah.
Let
the dogs out.
Let the dogs out. But,
I love it.
No,
I love that.
we've just got to enjoy ourselves and be there to enjoy ourselves.
Exactly.
So, Lisa, when I go to a photo shoot, sometimes I'm graced with a beautifully staged property. Other times, not so much. It's either empty or it's got some very dated furniture in it. Why would that be?
The staging industry is actually relatively new. Some would say it's about 15 years old in total. So this year, the girls that work for me and I, the whole team actually went up to Sanctuary Cove in Queensland and went to our first home staging conference. Now, that is the second home staging conference in Australia that ever was.
Right.
So we actually don't have an overshadowing body. We do not have an association. So it is still a very new industry that a lot of people are still trying to figure out because, again, we don't have guidelines. Now, when I opened the staging hub, my original idea was just to help people with their own things, zhuzh it up. But it soon became a staging business. However, what I was hearing and noticing from friends and fellow females and males is how desired this industry actually is. Oh my God, I'd love to do that. How do you get into that? So my mission at the very beginning was, how can I create this business from my business skills, because I wasn't and still am not a qualified interior designer. I'm just not. So, but I knew I had business skills and I knew I had flair for this. So how can I create a business that actually could be replicated by anyone else in this stage of life that would like to do it? And that still is actually my mission, but it's turned out to be, I think, a brilliant one, because a lot of staging businesses out there, and this is no comparison necessarily on who's better or worse, it's just different. We do not buy our own furniture.
I was going to say it would be quite a costly setup price, because here I am thinking that you're going to have warehouses and warehouses full of furnishing.
100%.
Yes?
Yep. So to set up a fully fledged staging business, you'd be looking at least to start with $500,000 to $1 million to start. Now, I've invested a lot of money. However, what I've done is I've got a very small warehouse and I only own decor, lighting, rugs, bedding, cushions, all of the small bits and pieces.
So where's the furniture come from?
So good question, Hayleigh. So I've built up relationships with incredible furniture suppliers around Melbourne. Now, we've narrowed it down to 2 at the moment, one for our high-end properties and another one for, mid-range properties, which are your usual everyday kind of coastal vibe here on the peninsula. We have such close relationships with these businesses. We all have a WhatsApp app and we're all great mates. The beauty of this, though, is, as you know, trends, fashions change all of the time. It's very difficult for those who own their own furniture to stay on trend. They've got to keep turning and recycling their furniture. So we have a third party that does that for us.
Right.
So it saves us a lot of time and effort and logistics. We simply order what we want and it comes to us in their truck. So the logistics side of things is huge in the staging industry. And I've made enough mistakes, I guess, or had enough
along the way.
Yes, to know that is vital. If the logistics, the transport team are not on point or whatever, the whole thing can be a nightmare actually, because we're also lining up with you, the photographer who's coming in at 3 o'clock and, we've had countdowns where we felt like we're on the block. Like
push them.
Because the logistics team might have been late or whatever, but these guys that we have relationships are so on point. They would never let us down deliberately. So we've got that really strong foundation with them.
That's brilliant.
The other thing I would say with how I've done it differently, I have a lot of friends in the industry now, women who've started their own, mostly women. There's men as well, of course, but a lot of women have started it. They run the show, they do the styling, they might have 1, maybe 2 people helping them out occasionally, and I've seen them wear themselves down.
Yes.
How can you be working on and in your business at the same time? You can do it, but you're not going to do either of them very well.
Yes.
The point of difference that I have created is I've wanted to, as much as I love getting in and creating, I make sure that if I wasn't there, could this job still happen?
Yeah.
So I've employed a team of contractors that are so loyal to me. They're like family, who do the consultations, the jobs. I'm usually there, but I also know that if I need to be elsewhere solving a problem or meeting an agent or whatever, I can leave.
You've got that solid team behind you. Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your team, I guess.
I'm going to get emotional now. I started off with a beautiful girl, Chloe, who was a visual merchandiser. She's now off having babies. And Alicia has started with me a few years ago. And I tell the story, her and I met making a bed at a styling workshop once.
Yeah.
And we made this bed together and looked at each other and she went, "Do you own this thing?" And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "I'll call you later." And I went, "Yeah, I know you will." It was just a match made in heaven. It was just love at first sight.
Yeah.
And she's been with me ever since. She's our head stylist, so She's incredible with logistics as well, planning. She's a spreadsheet queen as well as incredible.
Love a spreadsheet.
Yes. So Alicia's there. I have a beautiful woman, Nicole Boland, who is a qualified interior designer, and she's incredible. She's actually based in Bayside, so it's really handy for when we go in there.
Yes.
And we've just put on another beautiful visual merchandiser. Love visual merchandisers because they're just so amazing at putting things together. Yeah. She used to do the windows of Country Road and all sorts of things, and she's fully qualified. So I couldn't be more proud of the team for our professionalism, but also our friendship. And we always, like coming back to the fun, always take advantage of going off for lunch or doing something fun as well as working.
Love it. Love it. I think that was an absolutely amazing chat.
Loved it.
Loved it. And I hope that for you guys that also allows you to step into our world and our whys and why we thought we'd come to you and grace your screens. So that's it for our first episode. We hope you found it useful, of value, and there'll be plenty more of where that came from.
And we hoped you like our little mascot.
This is our, yes, come on.
Thomas Edlington Jr., his name is.
The camera loves you, darling.
This is Tom. This is Tommy. I know, baby.
Oh, he's so gorgeous.
So that's a wrap from us. We're so thrilled and excited to be bringing this to you, and we really, really appreciate your support. If you have anything you'd like to ask, please send us a DM or comment, share, like, tag, all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we absolutely want the word to get out about this. So help the algorithm, please, by hitting like, hitting share. Pop it on your stories if you think it's of value to somebody else that follows you. And we will look forward to bringing you the next episode of Behind the Deal. High five.
High five. Sister.
High five. No high five. No high five for me. Yeah, just a kiss. Just